Good morning, everyone. You just saw the advertisement for the 3 counties that offered their America NJ 250 anniversary story maps. We'll show that again before the end of the show here. And those of you online, you can either look them up or you can quick do the QR code. I'm sure if you just look up either Somerset, Ocean, or Monmouth. Monmouth was the big experience. They're quite amazing, and that was just a very quick blurb of the resources that they've made to celebrate America's 250th anniversary. So welcome to your June 4th, 2026 General Assembly of the Constituency for the Geospatial Forum here at Rowan University in Discovery Hall. This is quite a place, and I'll be telling you more about it as we go through. But to start, I'd like to introduce our host, Dr. Zach Christman.
Hello, everybody. It is great to have you here. We have talked for a long time about what it could be like if we had the lightning talks or another event here hosted at Rowan. And thank you for coming all this way if it were longer, or joining us if you're in the neighborhood. I'm Zach Christman, professor and chair of the Department of Geography, Planning, and Sustainability here in the School of Earth and Environment. We're in Discovery Hall, the new building that is the home of the school, and then we're in the College of Science and Math. And as you can see, Rowan is growing very rapidly. Are there any of you for whom this is your first visit to Rowan University ever? So awesome. Welcome. Mission accomplished. We've brought more people here. And can I also see a show of hands of any of you who've taken or taught a class at Rowan in your... Welcome back. Yes. That was our maiden name. And yeah, welcome. We're also joined here by Dr. Eddie Guerra. He's Associate Dean, affiliated with the school. And I just also really want to thank everyone from the Office of GIS, Office of IT, and our local team here, Maya, Sarah, Brian, Scott, helping just coordinate everything to help make us here. And then Mike Bryan and our helper with university events, Jessica Porch, and our departmental administrator, Dan Dantine, who've all helped bring this opportunity to fruition. So, I won't speak much longer, but thank you very much for being here. Please enjoy some coffee at any time. This will be here through the break, and there's some snacks out there that we're happy to host and have you here. So welcome, and I'll pass back to Matt to transition to the program.
Thank you, Zach. And thank you, Rowan, and all those people that he noted to get us here today. I love seeing how many of you there are. When we were here visiting, we were trying to figure out about how many, and my guess was way off. I was like, maybe 20. The people like it online. So I'm really glad to see everybody. Thank you for coming. So before we get started with the program, so today's program is Lightning Talks. In case any of you who don't know that, it's Lightning Talks where we ask our constituents and our members and anybody who may have a very cool geospatial solution or practice or problem to come present it in a short, compacted 6-minute time frame. We'll be getting to those in a minute. This is the biggest one we've had, I think, 17 or 18. No, 17, that's right. The second one that I can remember doing that was this long was 16, and that was about 2 years ago. So this is quite something, and I'm very happy to be here. But before we get to that, let's talk about old business or regular business, if you will. I have gotten nothing from our constituents on any kind of announcements or otherwise, except from our federal constituency, Chairwoman Eliza Gross. And I'm going to turn it over to her to start. And this is yours, right? Yes. Okay. So Eliza, Madam Chairwoman, if you would, we'll have you up here. And
thanks, Matt. Hey everyone, if you don't know who I am, I'm Eliza Gross. I realize I forgot to put who I work for up here. I'm with the U.S. Geological Survey's National Geospatial Program, and I'm the National Map Liaison for New Jersey, in addition to Delaware, New York, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. And I am the lead person of the federal government constituency group, and I'm going to provide some updates from the group. So, do I use the remote?
This was the last minute addition, so hopefully it works. Hey.
Yeah, okay. So this is what the federal government constituency group looks like. I received like a contact list and reached out to the people on the list, got some bounced emails and things. So at the end of the day, it looks like 34 members. I tried to go through the emails and figure out what federal government agency folks work for. And it looked like we have 8 different federal government affiliations among the 34 members. I did keep National Geodetic Survey as its own agency. I felt compelled to do that for some reason, so that's why NOAA's on there twice. But the breakdown looks like we've got a representation from Amtrak, the Census Bureau, FAA, FEMA, New Jersey Institute of Technology, NOAA, then the NOAA Geodetic Survey, NRCS. There are 7 of us on the list from USGS, so a bunch of those folks work at the New Jersey Water Science Center, and I live and work in Pennsylvania. So, and then we've got 12 folks who are unknown. I couldn't determine by their email address where they work. A lot of people signed up with private email addresses. So if your name's up there and you don't think it should be as part of this group, let me know. And if your name's not up there and you should be part of the federal constituency group, let me know as well. So any questions? You probably can't see the list of names, but yeah, just reach out to me if you have any questions. So from the other federal agencies, Abram Shepard from FEMA did get back to me, and just to say that FEMA's up and running again now after the shutdown. For those who weren't aware, the shutdown lasted from mid-February until the end of April there, and there were no other significant updates to report from FEMA. So the rest of the updates here are going to be from myself, from the National Geospatial Program. I just have some program updates, and then I'll go through New Jersey's project updates for the elevation projects, a hydrography project, and then New Jersey's ortho imagery project where they're using NGP's geospatial contract. So first of all, some program updates from the National Geospatial Program. We have released a new product from the 3D elevation program. This is a seamless 1 meter digital elevation model. We're calling it the S1M. So if you're familiar with USGS elevation data, we do host standard 1 meter DEMs, but these are published according to project. For example, New Jersey, if New Jersey has a project that consists of 4 counties, the data will be published for those 4 counties. And then if the 4 counties next to those 4 counties are published, that's published as a different project. So sometimes you can have, we end up with mismatches and gaps between projects. So what the S1M does is standardize the data across those projects. So The S1M eliminates the gaps and slivers caused by any kind of inconsistent boundaries that are there. So a lot of times, not typically within a state, but between state boundaries, we can end up with gaps. So this kind of solves that problem. If you're working on, if you need to use elevation data that crosses state lines, it'll help with that. And it reduces mismatches across water surfaces. So if the data are collected at different collection dates, the water could be higher or lower depending on, what the weather's been like. And you can have a mismatch across the water surface. And then it also avoids data artifacts in the DEMs caused by, varying coordinate systems between different projects and different acquisitions and the varying datums. So this map up here, you can see New Jersey almost has statewide seamless 1 meter coverage available. And that's from the existing QL2 LiDAR data that are available. So those are online available for download. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is our 3D National Topography Model Data Collaboration Announcement, or the DCA. This is a funding opportunity that we release every year. The New Jersey DEP typically works as a partner that they kind of are the organizer among the state agencies and often apply for this. So if anyone else is interested in applying, please reach out to me, and I can put you in contact with the state folks who often apply. But as far as the DCA is concerned, the one for this fiscal year, FY26, it closed on May 15th. That's a little early. Usually it stays open until mid-June. So the one for this year is closed, and we're hoping to release the one for FY27 in early August. They usually try and shoot for that first Wednesday in August, so I'll make sure the group is updated on that whenever they decide to release it. And then they will hold an informational webinar the afternoon of the day they release it. So if you don't know what this is or have questions, it's a great webinar to be able to sit in on. So I'm gonna get into the project updates. So for the elevation projects, we still have the Northeast 6 County project in progress. Just to refresh your memory, this is 6 counties in the Northeast part of the state. There was a issue with the data found. They had to go back and reacquire some data, and when they went back, they collected Somerset County in addition to the 6 counties that are highlighted up here. The project was broken into 3 different work units just for review purposes. And as of this spring, the progress that has been made, I have highlighted up here. So for the first work unit, the contractor is working on another round of corrections from USGS. And yeah, sorry I don't have a map up here of the work unit breakdown. And then the second work unit, the data have passed independent QA/QC review, and the contractor is working on their first round of corrections from USGS. So both of those work units are with the contractor working on corrections. Work Unit 3 is just Somerset County. So those data have been reviewed by USGS and they've been fully accepted. The LiDAR point cloud data and original product resolution DEMs are available online. We have them on our Rocky Web FTP, on LiDAR Explorer, and on the national map. So that's the LiDAR point cloud data, and then original product resolution DEMs for Somerset County. So if you're interested in that, the data for that, it's available. So this summer, they're planning to get the other 2 work units done and for the data to be accepted, but we really don't have a hard date for that. It really depends on how many more rounds of corrections are needed between USGS and the contractor. So any questions about the 6-county project? Yeah.
Work units where you get to the DEP?
Yes. Yeah, the contractor mailed a copy. Uh-huh. So the next elevation project is the 4-county project. So this is Mercer, Burlington, Camden, Gloucester counties. The data acquisition, they collected all the data last spring of last year. So now this spring, they did deliver the data on March 31st for the first round of independent QA/QC review. Then the feedback was received from that review on April 29th, and as of last month, they were working on corrections. So next steps, the contractor expects early June for a second delivery of the data for independent QA/QC. And then they've put September 2nd out there as a planned delivery date for all the data to go to USGS for review. But that really depends on how many rounds of corrections are needed for that independent QA/QC. So no hard dates here, like for the data to be published and available to the public. So stay tuned.
Eliza, those are the counties in New Jersey. Is that where the project stops, or is there also Pennsylvania that's in there?
No, this is a New Jersey specific. Yeah. I know it does overlap that prior collection by the DVRPC, but we've reached out to them like every year, and they just haven't had the funding since then to collect additional LiDAR data. So, yeah.
Discouraging.
Yeah. So, these are New Jersey's elevation projects. I don't have information on it. There is more work coming around the corner in New Jersey, elevation-wise. Some of the oldest data, looking at reacquiring some areas in QL1 LiDAR data. I know there's been interest in the Northwest counties, so stay tuned on that. I can't really say much because the project hasn't been awarded yet, but yeah, there should be something coming here in the next couple months. So the hydrography project, so this is this is a project deriving updated hydrography data from the QL2 or better LiDAR data that are available. This project was really initiated by the state of Delaware, the Delaware Geological Survey, and then since we need to acquire the hydrography data by hydrologic unit or watershed, we couldn't stop at the Delaware state lines. We had to include a full watershed. So NRCS and USGS from the federal perspective chipped in some money for this to get complete coverage, and then even a little extra across these state lines. So we've got areas in Maryland, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey that are also being derived. So the latest update from this project, so the project was divided into 2 work units. So it's the pink and the blue. The blue is work unit 1, and that includes several 12-digit hydrologic units in New Jersey, and then the pink is work unit 2. So work unit 1 had its first delivery to USGS this spring, and work unit 2 which is the pink, it's currently in its second round of review with USGS. So this summer, plans are to continue the correction and review cycle for both of the work units. The tasking for this project estimates final data delivery by the end of August. Once again, similar to the elevation projects, this is dependent on how many rounds of review it needs to go through. But this project seems to be on task, so we're hoping we could stick with that. So once final data are accepted for this, we have elevation-derived hydrography data. It does not have attribution associated with it. So the next step after that, in the fall, winter of 2026, USGS takes that elevation-derived hydrography data and attaches all kinds of attribution to it and makes a really useful hydrography data set. And then the data get published through our 3DHP web feature service. So I'm hoping at an upcoming meeting sometime, maybe next winter, to be able to demonstrate how useful the data can be. And it's really exciting to have updated hydrography data, because if you've ever worked with the NHD, it's pretty outdated. So any questions about the hydrography data? Right, and the last thing is the ortho-imagery project. The data for the ortho-imagery were flown last spring. So the data for this project do not go through USGS review. They just go through independent QA/QC. So the contractor broke the project area, broke the state up into 4 different work units that are labeled up here. So the data for work unit 1 was delivered for independent QA/QC on March 2nd. The data were reviewed, corrections delivered by mid-April, and then the second data delivery for independent QA/QC review was at the end of April. For work unit 2, the data were delivered for independent QA/QC at the end of March, and then the data were reviewed and corrections were delivered at the end of April. For the northwest corner, work unit 3, data were delivered April 20th, and the data were reviewed and fully accepted. So they're working on the final report for that work unit. And then the northeast corner, work unit 4, they expect initial data delivery for independent QA/QC by the end of last month. So I'm not sure on the status of that. Hopefully I would guess it had been delivered on time. And then the expected time frame for final accepted data is this coming fall. So some really good ortho-imagery data coming around the corner for New Jersey. And that's it from me. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them or reach out to my email address.
Thank you, Eliza.
Thanks.
Thank you. So I've already made a mistake. Go figure. We're supposed to repeat the questions, and I did not ask Eliza to do that. So the 2 questions that we had, one was from Brian asking about, was the work unit 3 delivered to the DEP? The answer is yes. The other question I had was, is the NJ collection, is that even though it crosses Philadelphia, is there any coordination there with the DVRPC? And due to funding constraints, there is not. So we've covered all the questions that we've got, and I'm going to ask the speakers, if you get a question from the audience, please just repeat the question for our team's members. Okay, Eliza, thank you very much. I have not gotten any as I said before, I've not gotten any other updates from any other constituency. So if you have something now, it's too late. So, okay, so we've got our first up. So we've got a batch of 9, and then a batch of maybe another 8, I guess. And we're going to be having a break in between. Last couple of times we've had complaints about breaks and it being too intense, and rightfully so. It's pretty intense. That just know that that means the meeting will go a little longer, and we're okay with that if you are. And if not, then you can always watch the video later. We're going to get started soon, and I wanted to just go over how it's going to work. You're going to get 6 minutes to talk. You're about a minute. Well, when time is totally up, you'll hear this. Okay, so when you hear that, I'll probably be standing next to you trying to pull you off with a cane. But prior to that, you'll see me raise my hand, stand up. You'll see me motion. That's just me letting you know you have about a minute left. Okay. All right. Without any further ado, let me get my timer set up here so I'm not. We'll do 5:57, so that way it's, And also if you're in the middle of a thought, if you're in the middle of a thought and it goes off, finish your thought. Don't just leave. Okay. So getting started, we're going to hear from Dave Wagner from GPI regarding the DEP project, mobile LiDAR and digital imagery collection of geotechnical assets for the NJDOT. And I can tell you that title was trimmed way down. Dave.
Okay, how do I
use this? Forward, back.
Okay, can you hear me? All right, good. Actually, yeah, it was a DOT project. DEP was not involved, just to clarify that. But yeah, no problem. Again, I'm Dave Wagner from GPI. I'm going to be talking about geotechnical asset management project that we did for the NJDOT Geotech and Geology unit. Give you an overview of the project, a quick GAM project information overview. Then we'll tell you how we did data collection, excuse me, then data extraction, made some CAD drawings, and then a GIS viewer app, which is kind of what we're all interested here, that we're GIS people. Project information. Okay, again, this is for the DOT Geotechnical and Geology unit. I think there's a few of you out there in the audience watching. Thank you all for letting us present this. We were sub to Hardesty in Hanover. It was just a big data collection project that we created some data for, and then we made a nice GIS viewer app. So the technology that we used was mobile LiDAR, image and LiDAR processing tools, MicroStation, TopoDot. I'm going to pick this up. I'm leaving. Esri. And what we got out of it was we provided rock slope, soil slope, wall data to NJDOT Geotech department users. And you can see in the map up there, there's a few corridors that we drove. We drove 10 interstate corridors in New Jersey for a total of 250 centerline miles. And obviously in New Jersey, the northern part of the state is a lot more kind of geotechnical assets. So we covered a pretty good amount of area. Data collection and processing. We did data collection in October 2024 and recently March 2026. The 2026 one was great. It was right after the snow melted and right before the leaves started coming out, so it was perfect. We used mobile LiDAR and digital imagery configuration. You can see the truck that we used down there has a Ladybug camera on it. We had a mobile LiDAR unit and it gave us mapping grade accuracy. You can see 5 corridors that we drove. This is from 2024. We haven't put the 2026 ones on there, but you can see we covered a lot of ground, especially in the interstates and states. Data processing. Okay, so you're going out and collecting this data. We took imagery every 40 feet, kind of like Google Maps, right? It takes a picture every 40 feet. It's panoramic, imagery resolution, and each image is stamped with an SRI, a milepost, lat long, elevation, etc., done by the actual unit itself. And the LiDAR is massive. As we know with this stuff, data is incredibly big. And so what we have to do is cut it up into 1,000-foot strips. Then that way we can do it to do our extraction. We can also provide it to the client. And color classified LiDAR, very cool. I can't really show you a point cloud, but a LiDAR point cloud is very white and confusing, just a lot of dots. And color coding it shows you ground, vegetation, what's a slope, what's a road, and it's very interesting and makes our extraction a lot easier. Data extraction, we use TopoDot, which is a MicroStation product. And the reason we use it is because there's some pretty hard measurements we had to do, and it handles all the data. It's very difficult to handle all this data. What do we take? You can see on the right, there's a rock slope. You can see a bunch of points that we took when we did the extraction. The standard stuff, location, milepost, start, end, and then we did a height, an angle. And then over here, couldn't show you all of it, but there's a whole pop-up that comes up with all the different stuff. Distance from pavement edge, pictures, cross-section I'll get to in a second, and special features that the geotech folks are interested in, catch at toe slope, mid slope, bench, etc. Those and rock anchors, which we all see when we're out there. This one for us, kind of being data people, is what I thought was pretty cool. You can see it's a cross section of the LiDAR. You click on it, you open it, and if you're an end user, you can go in and pan around and see and move and make measurements, which I'll show you in a second. It's pretty cool. So it's an extremely useful tool. Besides just what we did for the GIS app, there's some raw data that they can use. Retaining walls, same thing. There were some walls. We did start, milepost, height, pictures, guide rail presence, stuff like that. CAD drawings. We took this great, here's the color-coded LiDAR, right? Like we can color-code it. You can see it's better than just having a white. Not as easy to see on that one or that one as this. So we took 5 walls of about 1,000 feet. We just overlaid some CAD on it, and we gave them yet another visualization tool that they can use to do their work. GeoSVRAP, all right, this is what we're all here for. So here's our app, right? And we have the table down here. It's pretty standard, but it's cool. The typical visualization tools, query results. The DOT geotech folks are like, okay, well, how many rock walls do I have of this, or how many soil walls of that, right? So you teach them how to run a query, and then you get the access to tabular data, pictures, and then the LiDAR, which is a bonus. We got a minute? Okay. I'll show you a series of slides next. So any app, zoom in, see green. The green are the walls. The red is the cross section we took. Click on it. 287, milepost 55, milepost 55.9. There's the picture. Come in here and your standard, view the picture. This is what I was talking about, which I think is pretty cool. This color-coded LiDAR, where I couldn't do it because it's too big to do live, but you zoom in, you can pan around, you can look and can see in way more detail what it is on the raw data, which is really a huge bonus for them, I think. Oh, and then the tools, all these different measurement tools and things like that. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. I have to change this around just a little bit. So we have a
monitor up higher.
Getting a little feedback, huh? Okay. So we have a monitor up here that it has the presentation slides on it, and now the presenters can stay here if they want. If you've ever seen Airplane, I've just got to concentrate. Hello. Okay, so I'm sorry. All right. Well, it's not doing it now, so we'll get going. Next up from Civil Solutions, we're going to hear strategies, tools, and tips for ArcGIS Online app migration and modernization from our very own Kalen Daugherty. I say our very own because you all may remember Kalen. He was on the board. He was my right hand for a long time.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Kalen Daugherty. I'm a enterprise GIS engineer with Civil Solutions and former NJGF executive committee member under the private sector. So today I just wanted to real quick talk about app migration, primarily about Experience Builder and Web App Builder, just to give everyone an idea of where everything stands, and we're an Esri partner. We work closely with them, so this was a good opportunity to go over this. So the Web App Builder, which I'm sure everyone's pretty familiar with, it was originally supposed to retire in Q1 of 2026, but that's been extended to Q2 of 2027. So the current timeline for everything is in Q1 2026. As of now, you can't create new Web App Builder apps. In Q4, updates to existing Web App Builder apps will no longer be possible. And then Q2, I guess it's supposed to say 2027, say 2026, but Web App Builder will be retired, and then all existing Web App Builder apps will no longer function. So that's the updated timeline for that on ArcGIS Online, and then Enterprise 11.5 is the last version with Web App Builder. So a lot of organizations have these, have Web App Builder apps, and you have to have a migration plan for what you're going to do now that this is going to be retired. I want to bring a few just high-level things here. So not only do the Web App Builder apps that you might have configured, need to be migrated, but additionally some of the older solutions. So if anyone's ever used ArcGIS solutions, stormwater solution, things like that, a lot of times they have a web app builder built in as part of the solution. So that will be going away as well. So I think that the first step is identifying what you need to migrate. So obviously you could just go into your organization and search for web apps, find the web app builders. Some of the things we've encountered working with organizations, if you have a web app builder that you did and you use all the time, then it's very at the top of your mind, you know that you need to find a new solution for that. But if there's other people that are creating apps, or for us as a consultant, maybe we work with a client or a town or a county, and then we do a one-off project, we don't really work with them anymore, then maybe that person that is now sort of the owner of that is not aware of this. So not only your own things, but things that others may be doing in your organization may be good to check in on. An additional thing, like something we've done in a few places, is just a quick ArcGIS API for a Python script to just list out the apps and then sort them by views, because the views can help you see, all right, what is actually being used all the time, and then maybe what only has a few views that someone deployed as a test, so maybe it doesn't really need to be migrated. So once you've identified what you need to migrate, I think some highlights of here are just categorizing and planning. So one thing to highlight is really it's a rebuild / redesign versus migration. I think Esri best practice would be you're not recreating your web app builder click for click, widget for widget. You're looking really at functionality, and what functionality and whatever new solution you're going to use is going to achieve that functionality of the previous app. And also migration path that might not be web app builder to experience builder. It could be an instant app for things like a 200-foot list. And there's a lot of different resources. This is a very high level presentation, but there's a lot of documentation, other presentations on what the functionality is in Experience Builder and everything like that. I just wanted to highlight real quick a functionality matrix. So this is a helpful tool. It gives you all the different widgets that are available in Web App Builder, and then basically their replacement widget in Experience Builder. And if there's not a direct replacement widget, that maybe things have been merged, two different widgets are now in the same, or functionality is a little different. You can see on the right here, I have migration paths for unplanned widgets. So this is just something to help you plan if the name of the widget has changed, or if your functionality doesn't seem to be exactly one-to-one. So now you've identified and planned, the next step would be configuration. So would recommend you build on a copy of a web map, because you might need to change configurations in the web map. So you don't want to affect things that are in production. If it's just viewing data, then you might not need a copy of data. But if you're editing, obviously you don't want to edit production while you're testing. Again, highlighting what I said, functionality versus recreating exact replica. It's that balance of recreating something click for click versus kind of taking it as an opportunity to rebuild. There is a capability in Experience Builder to generate templates, and that lets you, if you have are reusing certain widgets or certain things and you have certain branding, then you can create a template, and then that could make it a little easier to create more apps off of that template rather than rebuilding each one from scratch. And then I'd recommend, if you take the opportunity now while Web App Builder is still active, to test alongside so that you can kind of see that the functionality you want is there. And then the last step would be the deployment and retirement. So obviously you want to communicate with anyone that's heavily using the apps that they're going to be retired. There's a capability now in ArcGIS Online. It's not available for Web App Builder now. I don't know. Justin's not here, right?
I don't think
No,
so.
all right.
Not usually.
Yeah, that you can set a replacement. It's basically like a redirect.
Basically like a redirect.
So that is kind of like just lets you redirect users that are hitting the old URL. It'd be good to put a splash screen retirement warning on your current apps, and that would let them, let users know that this is retiring. And then once retired, apps are completely inaccessible. You can download the JSON from it to get an idea of the resources used in it. But when that retirement happens, the app is going to be completely going away. So if you haven't already done so, and a lot of organizations have already done a lot of apps, but if you haven't, then now is the time to definitely get these migrated before they're completely retired and you're left in a bind.
All right, so now that I'm cutting you off, I'm going to ask you a question. I'll do it in the microphone so that everybody can see. Is it only ARC and the ARC realm that civil services for this migration? Have you had any customers decide, let's go a different way?
We have not, but I mean, that the web app builder is retiring. So if you have something built off of that that is key to operations, then whether you're going to build your own custom in-house widget or go to an Esri solution experience builder, whatever, it's going to need to be migrated one way or the other. So.
All right. Well, that was a little bit of Matt time. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
We have that interjected in between. It's part of the joy of being me. You too could be me if you wanted to come up here. We ask every year. Okay. So next up from Lakewood Township MUA, we're going to talk about exploiting GIS. Jeez. It's like I've never read this before. Exploiting GIS, I know, with the Lakewood Township meter replacement. Christopher McClain. Chris?
Like Matt said, I'm Chris McClain, and I was him several years ago. I've been doing geospatial for 28 plus years now. Nearly all of that has been in the water wastewater realm. Last 10 years, I've been at the Lakewood Township MUA. I'm a past New Jersey Geospatial Forum executive board member, currently on the GPN Mid-Atlantic board as vice president. Just to give you a little background on Lakewood MUA. It's a small to medium size, depending on your scale. MUA, we have about 10,000 plus customers. Most of those are water and wastewater. We do have some water only, some wastewater only, and it's a mix of residential, commercial, and industrial. So we were pretty early in the on the radio read meters. We replaced all of our meters, like I said, fairly early on. That process ended in 2016, was the last conversion from the old meters to these new radio read meters. Just to give you some background on the meters, radio read meters generally have a lifespan of about 20 years, and that's usually due to the battery wearing out in them. A few years back, we started to see some early failures. Now, we don't know if that is some of the meters we got that were installed were several years old when they installed because they were sitting on the shelves or what. But we had the opportunity to do a replacement project based on some funding that we were able to get. And we decided that anything that was done before 2016 we were going to do. So it ended up being about 7,000 meters. Because of the volume of meters to do, this is something we couldn't do in-house. We had been doing them in-house sporadically. We could do about 15 a week, but that would only give us around 1,000 a year. So we wanted to do it on a much larger scale, so we had to go to a third party. And because we're going to a third party, that meant we wouldn't have eyes on these because we couldn't have an inspector at every one of these installations. It wouldn't just not be feasible. So we decided we were wanted to capture a certain amount of data because the first time they did this project, a lot of this data was captured, but it just wasn't recorded anywhere. So that's why we didn't know what year the meters were installed, but not how old they were. So we came up with this list of information, and we decided, all right, we want to get all this information in. How can we do it? We talked to some other people who'd done similar type projects, and we found some pain points for them was how often the vendor submitted the information in was an issue. A lot of times they were getting them like once a month. It was a big batch, and by that time, the older installs in that thing had already been in a month. So we wanted to avoid that. And usually it was just submitted as an Excel table or some sort of table. But we wanted to get a bunch of pictures taken to be our eyes on the ground and kind of our inspectors per se. And as most of you know, you can't embed pictures in Excel. And so we wanted to address that. So our first idea was, let's find somebody, build an app, either Field Map, Survey 123, that we're going to give to the vendor for them to collect information. That way, as each install is done, that it automatically appear in AGOL, and we have the information. We got some pushback from vendors who are like, well, we have our own software, we need to use it. And they're all like, well, we'll show it to you, and you can use it too. And we're like, no, thank you. We have enough data silos. We didn't want to do that. So we hit the drawing board again. Solution number 2 was we decided to require all of our submittals from the vendor be in file-based geodatabases as a feature table. That way all the pictures could be linked. We didn't have to worry about the nightmare of having to import all this Excel tables and then have to go find the pictures. Because again, we required 9 pictures for each install. In reality, we're getting about between 21 and 24 pictures per install. So trying to find those in a file or online, link them in, was going to be a nightmare. Because of the size and the funding source, we had to bid this project out. So that meant it was going to the, and we couldn't even do competitive bidding. So it had to be straight low-cost bid. So we made sure we baked the specs for the file geodatabase into the documentation. We got our engineering department on board and our billing department on board, so they knew the importance of getting this information in. And we got some feedback from the vendor that they started talking about Excel files, and we're like, no. So we held their feet to the fire. So they finally figured out on their end how to export out of their software into a file geodatabase with the attached pictures. We feed that into FME desktop. We create an Excel file that goes to our billing department that they update their thing with Edmunds. We upload the feature class, just export it out of ArcMap up to AGOL so we can do some QA/QC on the photos and the data that we got coming in, and it's working out pretty well. Some lessons learned. Handling attachments in FME is pretty hard. That's why we just upload it out of ArcGIS Pro into ArcGIS Online. I wish I gotten billing on board with the GIS data sooner, and did some software office for ArcGIS just because it keeps the data from being split. For more information on this, I'll be presenting this topic at the GPN at Mid-Atlantic Conference this October 21st, 23rd. See you there.
Yes, you will see me there. Of course, I'm usually in Atlantic City. So, okay. So thank you, Chris. I'm very curious to see what kind of storage on disk just for the imagery. Like,
Very minimal.
really? Yeah. Wow. 20-something pictures. Wow. We just get better and better, don't we? All right. So next up, we have from Rowan University's own Katrina McCarthy, Conservation Lands Index, NJMAP. Is that, nope. Oh, there's Chris's stuff. Okay.
Awesome. Yep.
And you've got a web demo you're going to try?
If time allows, we'll see.
All right, well,
Thank you for accommodating me in the schedule. Sorry for the... All right. So good morning, everyone. I just want to thank the NJGF board members and Zach Christman. Shout out to you for having us here today. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Awesome.
You can hold that if you want.
That's okay. So I just wanted to do a quick poll in the room. How many people are already familiar with NJMAP or use NJMAP? Awesome. I love it. All right. So as you might know, NJMAP has been around now for roughly 13 years. And we basically started NJMAP as an open source way to provide web mapping tools and information for all the municipalities in the state. And so when we were first starting, NJGOWeb was like the place to go, but it was a little clunky. And we thought there's like a tremendous dearth of information and resources that the state publishes, but it's not necessarily easily accessible, brought down to the local level. And so luckily we have an awesome team. I'm here on behalf of Mackenzie Franco, Mike Bryan, who's in the room, John Hasse, who you'll hear from in a minute, and Mark Corbelis, our software developer, who is amazing and the genius behind a lot of the parcel information that we tie to. So essentially, this is kind of like a resume here for us. We've had our largest traction in working on different projects around the state through the Conservation Blueprint community. And that project in and of itself has been going on since about 2014. And what happened was some groups had kind of discovered our land change mapping and animating land change over time using the LULC from the DEP. And they recognized that different entities were working in the state, but they didn't always know that someone else was working on a project preserving land, or multiple entities were working on the same project. And so Conservation Blueprint was born to try to connect all these, identify opportunities and priorities. And so a natural outgrowth of that effort and working with all these conservation organizations was something that we first took a crack at in 2023, which was a Conservation Lands Index. And what the Conservation Index does is try to take all of the different data sets that we have in the state and just, oh, sorry for that formatting issue, and bring it all together and tie it to a parcel database. And in doing that, you can find out when you go onto the map on NJMAP and you go down to the collection, it's under in development, because this is not technically funded by any organization. It's kind of like a side experiment that we're working on. And I think the New Jersey Geospatial Forum had a preserved lands task force. Like, anyone in the room that worked on that? Awesome. Okay, so this is not trying to, duplicate that. This isn't a bulletproof kind of solution. This is like a best attempt at trying to take all of these data sets, tie them to the parcel level, and then be able to, on the user side, when you come to NJMAP, click on a parcel and say this parcel has been identified by 3 sources as saying that it's preserved, and here are the sources that say that. And so you'll note here in this kind of high level list of how the index was created, looking at step number 2 and talking to Brian earlier this morning, we used, this project was done winter into spring of this year. So we used parcels from December 2025. So it's already out of date. It's a snapshot in time, like a lot of geospatial products that we deliver and develop. But as you'll see, and I'm not sure if I'll have time to get into it, but this is just I'm sorry for the formatting issue again, but if you click on any given parcel, when you come to Conservation Lands Index, as I mentioned, you'll see this parcel is indicated as such, and then it gives those sources there. So I don't know why my formatting is all messed up, but that's okay.
Rejecting it 25 feet in the air.
So wait, maybe I'll take a step back and see if I can jump into the demo.
You got a little more than a minute, so yeah.
Yeah, awesome. All right.
You want me to do it?
Is it?
Yeah, I can do it.
Sorry. Okay. So I just wanted to show briefly, when you jump onto NJMAP, I just wanted to show everyone how to get to it, because we welcome your feedback, comments, critiques, anything you want to provide. Awesome. Okay, cool. So to jump, thanks, Mike. So to jump to the metadata and information associated with this is really hard to do.
Yeah, right, to
Okay.
the exciting stuff. All right. Sorry.
Yeah, you can see our methods document, a quick informational guide just by clicking on the I button at the top. You'll see that we organized all of the data into these 3 buckets. And then if you want to explore the components that go into it, you can expand the component layers here. Sorry. And turn on those individually. And I'm going to be brave and just try to, sorry. I'm trying to just zoom in real quick and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my parcels. And if I just click here, maybe, yep, okay. So there you go. You'll see that it pops up with that information. And then one quick thing I want to say, I'll turn off parcels, is we also over the winter developed a composite building layer. And where is that? There it is. Okay. So if you have these 2 turned on together and you turn on your municipalities, you can quickly get a visualization of your development footprint, what you've preserved, and any questions, please reach out to myself or John or Mackenzie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Katrina. I know you've got other stuff, so you're dismissed. No, I'm just teasing. We do have some other questions. I wanted to touch on the questions coming in from teams. I will keep them coming in, and I will tally them at the end, just because we're running very late. But that's okay with me. You know, just usually I'm the one whipping, and that's not today. So we're gonna move on. Oh, there he is. So continuing with the Rowan theme, we have Dr. John Hasse, a Smart Growth Explorer, NJMAP. Would you like which would you like? You have this. You have this one. Okay. Okay. You have this one. You have this one, and then you have this as well. I'm sure you're familiar with all that.
All right. Yes. Can everybody hear me in the back there? Okay. Homework is due after the session today. Yeah, my name is Dr. John Hasse, and I'm so happy that we're having this forum here. I'm also very proud of our program. We have 4 different degree programs that all fit together: geography, GIS, environmental studies, and planning. And we just became the first undergraduate planning program to be accredited in New Jersey. Yes, Rutgers undergraduate is not accredited, so that's a big deal. It's a big deal. And I love that our NJMAP project ties into all those 4 subject areas that are really all geography, right? So the NJMAP project is something that we're very proud of because it is open source. It's not Esri. We write it here, and it's lasted for 14 years with old code and leaflet with nobody uses anymore. We do, and people still use it. So the NJMAP project it's because what it does is it fills a need for those non-GIS people and a lot of GIS people, because it's quick, it's there, you know it's there, and it's not kind of, the policy is if we can make it work, we can make it work. We don't really have a lot of oversight about what we can and cannot do. It's whatever we can get funding for projects and whatever we feel like really is benefit to New Jersey. So the Conservation Lands Index is an example of that. We knew that so many different open space layers, the boundaries don't line up, and we don't know who's this or that. And so you have the DEP main one, but you have so many other ones, and now you can see is a pretty good idea. And people ask us for that layer, but it's not available because we just assign it to the parcel. So you're just looking at a parcel and seeing which ones overlap with the various open space things. So let me get into Smart Growth Explorer. This is our planning tool that we worked with the Office of Smart Growth. They just updated the state plan the first time since 2002, right? So it's supposed to be every 5 years. We were involved with that update, and we created a map that is not officially part of the state plan because we didn't want to have to be tied in by policy and having to be approved or whatnot, but working with them to make a map that helps the state plan on the left be actualized by individual municipalities and any entities. And so it's putting it into not just the policy map, but a model that says, well, where are factors that are actually smart growth and where are factors that are actually smart conservation? There's 2 components to this Smart Growth Explorer tool. And again, to just kind of back up a little bit, I'm going to go right down to this Parcel Explorer here, our visualization. Yeah, so NJMAP has it's kind of the main engine is a sub map of NJMAP that's called Parcel Explorer. It kind of lives on its own, but it's there all the time. And that's where we not only put conservation information, but lots of other information that we can overlay and say what's going on here with this parcel. That makes it be very valuable for planning boards, zoning boards, anyone that's working on a project, developers, conservationists, to be able to see what's going on, who owns the different parcels that are around us, and what geographically is significant for us. So then I've got to go backwards here. Yep. So this project that's Smart Growth Explorer is where are the factors that make growth be, okay, that's kind of good to grow there, versus that's not where we want to grow, that should be smart conservation. And so we have it broken down into 2 models. One that is a model of what factors are indicator of that's a good place to grow, or to redevelop is really the main way of development into the future. And each layer has a point system here, and we did this in collaboration. We kind of had a team with the Office of Planning Advocacy, and so you can see some of the factors that and the points that are associated to that. And we created this essentially a model that builds up on those points. And then that looks something like this, right? Where you have a lot of those factors would be the high value, and the low factors where we don't have so many of those things are the yellow. And so that's indicating where to focus development and redevelopment, because you have those positive things like transportation infrastructure, sewer, water, zoning that's appropriate, smart growth areas of the state. And then that's good, right? But we know that even in the smart growth areas of the state, there's a lot of environmentally sensitive areas that we shouldn't develop, even in the planning areas 1, 2, and 3. So, the second model, let's zooming in on the first model here, we can see some of the geography and now the parcels overlaid. So you can get an idea of where the indicators are. Now, of course, some of these places are developed. Well, redevelopment is the future of New Jersey. We're going to run out of land. So our smart growth factors or smart conservation factors are shown here. So you see flood areas, that's really important. Threatened endangered species, all those kind of wetlands and buffers and something. If we add them up, it creates our open space suitability mapping. And you can see here, we're in Glassboro here. This is Glassboro Wildlife Management Area and all the critical species that are down there. We are right here. Right, so in the end, we actually can subtract the open space from but that makes you mix all colors of paint, it turns brown. It's actually more effective to have the smart growth model and the conservation model be looked at independently. In fact, it's even more effective to see what those colors are, click on it and see what are the component factors, and they're all in there as well. So just want to put that out there, that this is a tool that is available for anything, and professionals use NJMAP, but we can also, many of you are on planning boards, many of you are involved with activities, and this works well on a phone, this works live in meetings, and so far our old code, we keep improving it because Mark's a genius behind it, and it keeps being relevant, and we keep having more users than ever, and I hope you guys continue to keep using it. So thank you very much. I'm out of time, right?
You're out of time. There is a question that came in about the integration of the Mod 4 data into the Parcel Explorer.
So
how's that harvested? How's the Mod 4 data harvested, or is it harvested?
Yeah, so we, I don't know.
That's the best answer we could get. I like that.
I mean, harvested is a good answer for the conservation.
Keep up with the state. They're updating it three times a year now, and so we're working on that. And Mark has a script to basically juice up the match. I think the match has been historically around 80% of Mod 4 to parcels, and he has a process that helps us make over 96%.
Okay, so it's periodically harvested. Okay.
A couple times a year we try to, at least once a year. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. I think that answers the question.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Wow. That was something else, huh? It's okay. So next up, we have South Jersey Industries, Rich Citkowicz, use case South Jersey gas. Rich, I want you to. Oh. Whew, man. See what happens when I don't wear my glasses? Okay, so next up, we don't have Rich Citkowicz from South Jersey Industries. Next up, we have Derek Bedarf from NJOGIS. Why can't all geodata be accessible? It isn't? All right.
We'll find out.
Starting you.
Is this my remote? Okay. Forward.
And then there's like a little, there you go.
There we go. All right. Why can't all geodata? Oh, well, hello. I'm Derek Bedarf. I work with NJ Office of GIS. And today I'm going to talk about the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. But I decided to be cheeky with it and do that. So, everybody. So, this talk isn't going to go through all the details of the web content. I'm just going to, some people call it WCAG, I'm just going to call it WCAG. I like it that way. It's a little, but I want to briefly talk about the journey that OGIS did to get compliance with the guidelines, and to get the word out, because we were a little caught off. Well, we were a little caught off guard. I think a lot of organizations were. We've been hearing this drumbeat over and over again, and I have been hearing it for years, but I kind of the date kept on eluding me. So then it came up, and we rallied, and we got it done, and it's great. So, but people still need to do it, and there's still time to do it. So, what is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines? Well, it's a goal within the ADA, Americans for Disabilities Act. Yeah, thank you. I messed that one up. But the deadline was April of this year, but there was a lot of slow movement on this, and so they extended it for another year. The goal of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines is to make sure online content is usable and enjoyable by as many people as possible. So it's making sure that there are ways that everybody can access this data or information on the web. So the deadline, like I said, was April 2026. It's been extended to April 2027 for jurisdictions with over 50,000 people. It's April 2028 for jurisdictions with less than 50,000 people or special government districts. So it follows the basic guideline. They call it POUR, P-O-U-R. So it's perceivable. Can we use our senses to get it? Is sight, sound, all those kind of things. Is it operable? Is it easily usable by everyone in more than one way? So like I might have a preferred way, but someone with a disability might not be able to use it that way. So there need to be other ways that they can use it. That might be through scrolling, clicking, tabbing through it with a keyboard, or using a screen reader. It needs to be understandable. The user interface must be easily comprehensible and easy to operate. And it must be robust, interpretable by a wide variety of those technologies or browsers. So again, to try to provide the widest access to people. So what we did, we basically did two things. We reviewed our content and then we prioritized and took action. We reviewed potentially impacted content on our website through our NJOGIS website and the NJGF website, which we maintain. Our Open Data Hub, we reviewed, lots of information on there. We looked at through our maps and apps, most of them Esri, but we have some custom apps that we had to look at, and all our PDFs. PDFs are a big part of the compliance. They talk about that. One easy thing to do is if it's old PDFs, you can just say archive. And that solves a lot of the issues. You don't have to worry about your archived PDFs, but only do that if you can't have like active PDFs and pretend they're archived. So we prioritized. We took a look at screen readers. We wanted to see how the flow of our content went through, so how you tab through with your content, how the screen readers read them, and that involved actually using the screen readers. You had to know what your alt text was for everything. Everything needs to have alt texts, their images and your maps. So you have alt text to describe the image, and you have alt text for your map links too, if you're able to do that. Hyperlink clarity, you want hyperlinks to be clear, not the full hyperlink with all the text, because the screen readers will read that. You want to have a hyperlink reference to some plain text. And you want to make sure that the document flows just like it flows well for the screen reader. You want to make sure it flows well for the keyboard tabbing through. So color. Color is an important part of the standards, and what you're mainly looking for is contrast between overlapping colors or adjacent colors. But you also want to look at the map colors that you have, colors that are adjacent to each other in the map, and you really want to look at those boundaries. There needs to be specific contrast values. And there are tools out there that help you look at those contrast values, and you need to spend time comparing colors, a lot of comparison of colors. Same thing with the text. There's backgrounds, like this is a white background with black text, high contrast. You might have other things where those boundary lines are going from like a light gray to another light gray. That's not going to pass your contrast standards. So our biggest challenges, or challenges we had, automated versus manual checks. Those tools that you use don't find everything. You have to go through and manually look at these things and test these things out. You're going to miss things if you don't. You need to, like I said, test those colors. So learning to use screen readers. We were wondering, like, is this not passing the test, or are we just failing at knowing how to use a screen reader? And you really have to take time to learn the tools, because we're not experts on it, other people are, and we want to make sure we know how to use it and what the tests that we're doing, the validity of them. Determining which maps and apps can be made fully accessible versus ones that can't. Those legacy apps I talked about, we can't go back and change some of those maps, but we might be able to put a reference in there that says, explains what this map does, and then alternate way to get to the data. It's not the full experience, so we're not meeting that goal goal of robust experience, but we're meeting the minimum goal of making sure the data is out there. I'll end, got to do this at the end, because this is what the talk name came from. One of the questions we still don't know is map service default symbology, is that something that counts? I don't have an answer. We're still waiting. Esri can't provide an answer. I haven't found anybody to provide an answer on default maps service symbology. Yes?
I'm curious, do these accessibility standards consider people with color blindness as one of these?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, I didn't mention the color blindness. That's very much so. Yeah, there's several different kinds of color blindness, and so yes, it does mention that, and so it's part of the color and contrast issues. Yeah. All right.
Because I snubbed you, you had several more seconds.
Oh,
My apologies. I'm very sorry about that. Rich, I'm sorry for that. I'll give you a little more time too. So I think it sounds like, yeah. I think it sounds like we need animated symbology, right? So that way we can, Yeah. Next up, we have Rich Citkowicz from South Jersey Industries, use cases for South Jersey Gas. Apologies for that.
Oh, you're good. Next here. There you go. Hey, hello everyone. I'm Rich Citkowicz. I work for SJI, which is two gas companies in New Jersey. The one that's local to your area, which is South Jersey Gas. We got big trucks down the road here. And we also have a non-reg business that does clean energy renewables. But to start with meter safety, so a gas meter. We have about 725,000 of these around the state, just for our company, but there's two other gas companies. And if you have a gas meter at your house, let's make sure it's nice and clean of debris. You don't have a bike hanging on it, or you don't have chains going around it. Make sure the debris is also cleared out. If it's snowing, make sure there's access to it. And if you see anything that we see in the next few slides, please call your local gas company and help us identify these issues. So I'm going to talk about atmospheric corrosion. We live here in South Jersey. We are surrounded by salt water, and anything that is exposed to salt water can be corroded. And atmospheric corrosion is one of those things on our infrastructure that we have to take a look at. And it is a federal requirement that we need to look at it, your gas meter, once every 3 years, not to exceed 39 months. So how do we do this? Years ago, not many years ago, we were using plate maps, 150 pages, writing them down, and bringing them back in and giving us the data to update our work order management system. But they came out of compliance. They came to us, and we made the Kabasi. So we have a Maximo system. IBM Maximo is a work order generation system. That is the system that generates work orders on a schedule, and it has a geospatial component to it that will create points on a map for us. And yearly, the work orders get created, and we have an extract that goes out, and we create a geospatial app map for them to go out in the field. So here is a quick GIF of them creating the work orders, and a supervisor actually looking at the work orders and circling them and assigning them to an individual in the field, using location data instead of just batch work orders of all of whatever township at one time. So being logical about how they do the work order management. So each user in the field has a own individual map. Their data is assigned to them, only to them. They only see their work orders. And it's a very simple web app, a field map that they have. Yes, no button, radio. Do they see atmospheric corrosion on there? Little notes field and pictures. And what comes back, we have attribute tables in the attribute calculations in the back. And they are helping us track the data so we know when the next one is ready
and how we push the data back into our work order management system for our next work order to get generated. In field maps, there's a great tool that does geofencing. So we do access and use this. We have hostile customers in the field that our individuals have reported that they have to either get a police escort to go to that house. So we have them in the field marking those locations, and I have geofences on them, so when they get to that location, it attracts them on their watch, on their phone, stop, get a police escort, or 2 people need to enter that premise. So just this way of using that. Like I said, we have pictures and pictures of anything that is considered a pour. So anything that you see, they're rotated. The picture is not rotated online, but just this app does that. But these are just pictures. If you see any rust on any of your items, just call a utility. We'll go out there and try to fix it before this happens. You see something like this, you got gas leak potentially coming out of this. So you don't want gas leaks around your house. And like you said, we're surrounded. You can see this is all red there. Definitely around the barrier islands, we're seeing a lot more atmospheric corrosion than we see in other places. Dashboards, real time. They get to see what's going on, who's doing it. The data is syncing back in and pushing back into our work order management system, where our individual South Jersey gas users need to go out and fix the remediation. We use a GeoWorks sync product that does that sync between the 2 GIS and our work order management system. Emails, what's going on with the data, who did it, and just a few takeaways. You guys are the first line of defense. If you see anything on your meter that is rust, call us. We'll be out there to help you out. And thank you very much.
Wow. I got to check my meter now. All right. Next up, we're going to travel back to Rowan University. Back to the start here with Ashley York, mapping relationships between air quality and demographics in Camden City, New Jersey.
All right. Hello, I am Dr. Ashley York. I am an associate teaching professor here at Rowan and also the GIS program director. First, I want to reiterate what some of my colleagues have said. It's so amazing to have so many, well, frankly, GIS nerds in the room here and have so many of you here at Rowan. And it's really cool to see so many alumni here as well. So some people I've actually taught here is awesome. Today I'm going to be presenting on some work I did last summer as a collaborator with the Community Planning and Visualization Lab. Oh, I didn't know it was on here too. Cool. Okay, so last summer we worked on an EPA-funded project in Camden City, New Jersey. Essentially, we had a series of workshops where we trained Camden City citizens on how to use these air quality monitoring devices. And so over the course of 3 months or so, Camden City residents actually went out and collected their own air quality data. So we would have a workshop where we would train them on how to use these air quality monitors. And so 15 or so in June would go out, record data for a month. We'd have another workshop in July, a different 15 would record for another month. And so over the course of the summer, they gathered over 300,000 unique air quality data points, of which only 200,000 were valid. And so I'm going to present some mapping results that I created from that and some of the statistics and whatnot. I ran a hotspot analysis on the results for PM 2.5 specifically. We can get into the nitty-gritty of why this is the bad one, but it's the one that has the most negative health impacts on people. I did some summary statistics on just the mean and maximum PM 2.5 per census tract in Camden City. Later, we're going to use this to actually run correlations with matching census demographic for those tracts. And then I ran an IDW to get some values of what we would expect the mean PM 2.5 to be in areas where we don't have an actual point measurement. And the IDW resolution is at about
the length of a city block in Camden. Then we just looked at overall demographics in Camden and the relative averages to New Jersey. So in general, median household income in Camden is lower on average, way below average in Camden compared to New Jersey. There are higher populations of Hispanic or Latino as well as Black populations. There is relative comparable for over 65 population, and then higher on average population under 18. And so these are some of those groups that we wanted to see if they, minority groups or more at-risk groups were being more negatively impacted by our values of air quality. And then we put it all together just to kind of visually at first compare if we saw any relationships between our hotspots of air quality as well as our mean and maximum values of air quality per census tract. So we have Black population and median household income shown here, as well as population under 18 and population over 65. These are just, again, just visually, like spatial visualizations to see things co-occurring. But next we have the actual statistics. So we ran OLS statistical analyses to compare how these individual demographics, as well as all of the demographics, were correlated to that mean PM 2.5 level per census tract. We didn't see much, so we found no significant relationships between mean PM 2.5 and the demographic variables, either individually or all together. One census tract, which was the bright red one there, had a significantly higher mean 2.5 than what would have been expected by the models. That being said, this is like a snapshot in time, right? So this is saying that there's no statistical relationships last summer between these demographic variables and the air quality that was collected last summer. So we really need longer term monitoring of air quality in Camden because we know some of these groups are being more negatively impacted over time. It also goes to say that pollution and air quality are really difficult to map. They are always moving. These are just like, points in time, little snapshots in time. That being said, one of the follow-up workshops, so we had these workshops to train the Camden City residents on how to use these monitors, but then we also went back and had a mapping workshop with them where we actually showed them some of their results, and it was really cool to have their contributions and look back and be like, oh, that's a point I collected, that's my neighborhood, as well as actual rationales for why a data point was specifically high. So some of them knew that there was construction happening in a particular neighborhood at that time, and that's why we had a higher PM 2.5 value. You can learn more at the QR code here about the Planning Visualization Lab. We are working on a peer-reviewed paper that has these maps, as well as more of the how we did the participatory science side of things, because there was a lot of work that went into how we trained people on this. There's a huge educational factor to this that's beyond just the mapping side of things, and a lot of collaborators in this room worked on that. And then one cool thing is this actually won an award by the NJAPA for outstanding community engagement. So that's some of us who are here in this room who got to go and collect that award. I didn't practice, so that's pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. That was actually very good for no practice. Of course, you have a lot of practice. You're a pro, right? Okay, so before we call our last talk up for this session, so we're going to finish up this session. We're going to have a break, and then we're going to come back in a little bit. Like I said, it's an elongated meeting, so. We had a question in from Trish Long for Chris McClain, and the question goes something like, Chris, are you worried about security with your AGOL meter data as far as it being up there, images and whatnot? And do you have any issues getting it up there? So you can by all means answer us now, or you can do it through text, whatever you'd like. That's up to you.
The data is only available to our organization. It's not publicly available, so I'm not
So no issues with security?
No.
And if there is any issues, then it's an Esri thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, we haven't had any issue. It's just when we get a submittal in, we run it through that process, and then we just upload it to AGOL. Like I said, that surprisingly small data footprint in storage.
Yeah.
It
that's
hasn't
kind
even
of-
been a
I'd like
blip
to
on
see
my
that.
my
I'd like to see that, because my images take up all my space. I don't know. Okay, thank you for that. And Trish, I hope that answers your question. Okay, so next up we have from the New Jersey Office of GIS. They're talking about the statewide parcel layer updates. You know him, our good friend, Brian Embley.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt. I'm going to try this. So I want to talk about statewide parcel layer. This is one of our most popular data sets that we make available. And it's been in its present form for a number of years, but we consistently get lots of questions about it. And it's the same questions over and over. So working with our team, I pulled out like the top 5 that we commonly get, and I wanted to go through them today. So if you're familiar with the parcel data, you use it a lot. Some of the people in this room help construct the layer. These might be familiar to you. The game for you is to see if you know them all. If it's new to you, maybe you'll learn something new, and that would be great. So let's dive in. Where's the data come from, right? When we publish this, it's on our state website, Office of GIS, the Engine website, and all that. But data doesn't come from us. It's not sourced from us, right? Counties in New Jersey, the 21 counties, actually map out the parcels. And then, so they map them out. They have different techniques for this. One of the common ways is they'll use their tax maps. If they're digital tax maps, that makes it even more efficient. And they'll map out the geometry, right? And they'll map out the whole county. And the counties pay for that. So thank you, counties. Awesome. There's a lot of attributes on the parcel layer, right? And building, land valuation, taxes, that kind of good stuff, right? Site address. Where does that come from? That comes from the municipal tax assessors, right, through the Mod 4 system, which is, if you're not familiar, that's the system the municipal assessors use to capture that. And then it gets reported up to the county tax boards, and then it gets reported up to the Division of Taxation on an annual basis. That's where the data comes from. It doesn't come from Office of GIS. And please remember, this is not a survey. Don't use it for survey things, right? It's kind of sometimes can look like one. So I just said that the counties and the assessors do the heavy lifting on this. So people are skeptical. What does OGIS really do? What do we really do? Well, we're the aggregators. So we get that data from all those counties. We aggregate it together, and we make sure that it matches and meshes and meets at the borders. Years ago, this was a daunting task. These days, there's less border issues. Happy about that. And then we take that assessor data, we join it up, right? The Mod 4 data, we match it. That's fun, you know. But we do the best we can there. And then we check it for completeness. You know, we have things that we check before we publish it. When we publish it, that means we put it out for public use, right? It's on our public website. It's in a bunch of different formats. We're trying to be as accommodating as we can to make it useful for people. So how often do we actually update it? Do we do this, right? Katrina mentioned this earlier. So now we're at a cadence of about 3 times a year. And what defines that, right? We remember the counties have updates that flow to us, and we collect those. And it's a lot of work for us to do these updates. So we collect them when there's enough, when there's a batch of so many counties, we feel like it's enough. Then we'll update the whole statewide data set. Every summer, we get that assessor data, the Mod 4, from Division of Taxation. We only get it once a year in our office. That's all that we're allowed to get from them. So when we get that in the summer, and I do mean summer, it's any time in the summer, then our next publication will usually include that, you know, current to us, Mod 4. A lot of details about what happened in a particular update. Read the metadata, right? There's good stuff in the process details or the process steps. And then we actually have a nice easy to read, non kind of technical log file document that's on the parcel page on the Engine website. So some good info in there. Couple more. So a few years ago, the state enacted Daniels Law in 2020. And let me back up, right? So the question is, how do I get unredacted parcel owner name information? We had to take that out of our parcels, right? Many of you will be familiar with this. Why did we do that? We did that because of Daniels Law from 2020, which in a nutshell said you can't put the name and home address of certain officials, usually it's law enforcement type officials, on the public internet because bad people have used it to do really horrible things. So an office was created in the state called the Office of Information Privacy, who's charged with redacting all that info. So our council said, no, we can't handle that. It's too complicated. Just take the owner name out and publish it. So we did that. If you're a state agency and you want the unredacted, meaning the owner name is still in it, we can give it to government agencies. If you're state, you can see our internal GIS portal at that URL. We can't give it to private entities. You'll have to get it another way. It's all at your local county tax board. And the last thing I wanted to end with the few seconds I have left, is we get people who are pretty savvy with data realizing that a lot of records are missing values, and it's the additional lot phenomenon, right? So if you're not familiar with this, in Mod 4, like on that map, you see the 3 parcels, right? A yellow and 2 blue. They're all owned by the same person. So to the tax assessor, all those lots are worth X and get taxed at Y, and that's it, and that's what they put in Mod 4. But when we map it, when it gets mapped, we realize it's split out amongst 3 parcels, and the assessor didn't give us the value of each individual parcel because they don't rate it and track it that way. All they care about is that tax bill that goes to the homeowner. And so you see that where the additional lots have no values in the attribute table. This is a tough one. We have some ideas of how to improve it next year or at some point, but it's something we're going to have to live with for a while because we're dependent on Mod 4 for that. So that's it. Go to our website. All the good stuff is there. If you have questions, please hit me or one of my folks up. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. Okay, so that wraps up our morning session of the first part of our morning session of the talks that we have scheduled for today. I put a call to action out the last time. You all might remember I talked about it a little while ago when we first started, but since we're going into break, I want to mention it again. I asked any government entities, specifically counties, because that's my constituency group, if any of them had any celebration for US NJ 250, if they could please send them. And we got 3 submittals from Somerset, Monmouth, and Ocean counties. And I encourage you all in the room to check these out over on the side. They're available and queued up for us individually. We're going to break now for about 15 minutes. Is that what we said, Maya? 15 minutes? 15-ish minutes. I mean, this whole thing's been blown to hell anyway. So, we're going to do the best we can. In the meantime, I have a little advertisement for our Celebration 250 that'll sort of bring us back in and let us go out. So by all means, check out the PCs over here. And Mike, if you want to fire that video up, that'd be great. I'd be grateful for that. And we'll see you back here in about 15 minutes. Oh. Zach, I'm so unfamiliar with the concept of refreshments and coffee. It didn't even occur to me. So by the good graces of Rowan University, our wonderful hosts, they have some, for in-person, they have some coffee and refreshments. Help yourself right outside, and I'll see you back here in 15 minutes.
I'm not allowed to say that.
On the microphone stand, homeboy, what you? Okay. Ready? We're getting back. All right, Mike, I'm going to let you do this because it didn't work for me. Yes, yes, please. I'm sorry.
Wait to play this?
Yeah, no, play it.
Play it.
Yep. Can we turn it up? If you can't, don't worry. You can say no. You're allowed.
It's not as good.
All right, everybody. Time to come on back.
Let's stop having fun.
That's right. That's right. Hey, there's way too much frivolity in here. Can you just pause it right there? Is there a way to do that? It's like, yeah, the last 2 seconds shows the QR codes for people to be able to like.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do that.
And don't go far because you're going to be. You can just play it again. That's easy. That's right. Yeah, right here. Yep. That. Go back 2 seconds.
We're going to go back 10.
Okay. Right when you can see all 3 QR codes. Right there. Perfect. There are the QR codes for the 3 participating counties. Joy Police is in the house. There's way too much frivolity here. All right, everybody. I'm going to have you sit down now, please. We're going to get started. The Joy Police has entered the building, and there's way too much frivolity in this room. It's time to be more serious and get down to business. This is business. We're in business. Okay. It's not. I paused the video just so you guys can capture the QR codes here. I see some people have left or they're still outside. Some new faces have come. This is good. This is a good thing. We have 8 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 more, right? Yes, we have 8 more presentations for the second part. I'm just I'm stalling and stammering a little bit to let the last few trailings of folks come in and have a seat. Okay, terrific. So welcome back to the New Jersey Geospatial Forum, June 4th, 2026, Lightning Talks, second round, the elongated version here at Rowan University. It's a beautiful place. It's the intersection of where history and art and education all intersect in a beautiful, harmonious spot. I haven't been here in many years, and immaculate comes to mind, but we're in New Jersey, so we know that that's the wrong word. Okay, so first up we have Marie Cook, New Jersey Forest Fire Service, NJWRAP, a statewide geospatial framework for wildlife risk assessment and decision support. Okay, I'm going to give you a little tutorial, forward, back, point.
Beautiful, thank you.
I'm also going to give you a couple seconds because my phone's way over there.
Okay, cool. Okay, there's the nice and pretty slide. How do I sound? Everybody hear me in the back? Okay, awesome, thanks. So my name's Marie Cook. I'm a GIS specialist with the Forest Fire Service. Our mission is to wildfire suppression, prevention, and preparedness throughout the state of New Jersey. And throughout the past decade or so, we've worked really hard to integrate GIS technology into every aspect of that mission. Perhaps one of our most powerful tools and most significant tools that we've deployed during that time is NJWRAP, the New Jersey Wildfire Risk Assessment Portal. So we teamed up with Timmons Group, a GIS state contract vendor, and their subcontractor Pyrologics to perform this assessment and then deploy the portal. And the app delivers wall-to-wall data sets representing the different components of wildfire risk throughout New Jersey. Here's a fun flyer with all the different features of NJWRAP. I know that we're all here for the data and the geospatial component, but it was really important for us to pull together all different kinds of materials and tools into a clearinghouse of all kinds of wildfire preparedness resources. And so to back up a little bit, we need a little bit of background because you can see here, this is not New Jersey's product. This is a product that was developed for the 20 Northeast Midwest states of the U.S. Forest Service. And so like any good state project, it kind of started with the feds. And we quickly learned that what the feds were doing in the region for the 20 state assessment was not going to suit New Jersey. And that's for a couple of reasons. So number one, New Jersey doesn't have any U.S. Forest Service lands. And so we weren't really invited fully to the party in terms of calibrating and guiding that assessment. And additionally, New Jersey is kind of an outlier in terms of wildland fuels and fire behavior within that 20-state region. So what we were seeing as the outputs came out for the regional assessment, it wasn't aligning with what we knew, with known outcomes here in New Jersey. So we set out on our own, like we typically do, pulled away from the region, did our own thing. And this way we had the opportunity to have our own folks in state have their eyes on the assessment, guiding the assessment, calibrating some of the stuff behind the scenes to make sure everything was lining up with what they've seen throughout their careers in terms of wildfire behavior and spread. So we're all here for, the data and the map stuff. So just going to touch on this briefly. We needed a way to pull together all those materials and curate these collections for our different audience groups. So I encourage you guys to go home or back to the office tomorrow and check this out for yourself. We also pulled together different tools. Some of those are tools that are housed within the WRAP, and then some of them from other sources like our fire danger dashboard, which we built in-house in ArcGIS Online. Here's a quick graphic that gives you a real high-level view of the different components of the assessment. So we're looking at probability, intensity, exposure, and susceptibility to wildfire to get that full picture of risk. This dives a little bit deeper into that assessment framework. Oh, here we go. And so we provided our in-house wildfire occurrence data to get factors like ignition frequency and density. We pulled data from local weather stations, whereas the regional assessment was using weather from, I believe, Maryland, which just was not jiving with New Jersey. And then land fire data was our modeling sandbox. And so that gave us characteristics of the landscape that dictate wildfire spread and behavior. And so we're looking at things like vegetation type, and there's a bunch of data that enriches that vegetation type as well. Forest canopy characteristics, and also terrain characteristics. That all gets pulled through FSIM, the wildfire simulator, and spits out a bunch of rasters, which you'll see in a couple slides. If you guys really want to geek out on the assessment itself and all the technical bits, you can check out the technical report on the support page. And so right away, first, actually, I want to point out that the banner up at the top says Advanced Viewer. There's also a basic viewer, which you don't need to be logged in to use, but I'm pretty sure everybody in the room is going to want to sign up for an account, log in to get the full experience. So the tool first opens up to this really basic tool. All the rasters that or all the pixels you're seeing here are representative of a structure exposure score. And this is a really simple, quick way to either browse to a location or search a location and get a quick snapshot of what you're dealing with in terms of exposure in that area. You can generate a quick report, which gives you a summary of those pixels within your target and some recommendations on how to establish and maintain defensible space. So we use this mostly for really quick interactions. Think about high traffic community events where we just have a minute or two with folks before they move on to the next table. And this has been really helpful that way and kind of eye-opening to folks as well. Here's an example of the report. Again, I encourage you guys to check that out on your own. Tabbing over, we have the map themes tool. So this is the heart of your basic map viewer. This groups all the different outputs into different categories. Here I search for one of our partner communities in Waretown, Ocean County, and we work with them in one of our preparedness programs to get mitigation done. And so right away, if you look to the south of that community, you can see those deeper pixels represent a higher structure exposure score. And so this indicates a really great opportunity to plan really high impact mitigation projects in that area. You also see a group for challenges to fire operations. This is really useful for informing tactical decisions. Here is a quick snapshot of ember production. These Ember characteristics layers help us, again, with targeting, prioritizing mitigation projects, as well as, like justifying funding proposals as well. And then finally, probably the most powerful part of NJWRAP is this areas of interest tool. Users can create an area by either selecting features from predetermined reference layers or uploading their own shape. You can then export a report or all of the data that's within that area. So that's really where a lot of this power is. And our folks use this to either prepare for or pull bits and pieces out of the report for meetings with municipalities, communities, and other emergency response folks. Here's a couple examples of what you're going to see in the report. And this is a map that I made. You guys can pull that data for whatever analytic or cartographic needs that y'all have.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. 6 minutes goes fast.
6 minutes does go very fast. 6 minutes goes very fast, and that first slide you had was my work neighborhood. So yeah, it's a little. I never thought about a wildfire there, but it's really possible. Yeah. Okay. So next up we have we're going to travel all the way to the New Jersey Office of GIS. Scott Costello is going to talk about the Ballad of Shooter's Island.
There we go. All right. As Matt said, Scott Costello from the Office of GIS, part of OIT. And unlike Marie, I'm going to talk about something that's a little weird, but it does have some cool nerdery in it towards the end. So, Shooter's Island. Where is this thing? Well, it's right there at the southern end of Newark Bay, a couple hundred feet north of Staten Island. And it's about 43 acres. So I'm going to be going through these pretty quick. And that's what it looks like. And you can see Staten Island piers there to the south and all the shipping traffic going around it. So why talk about Shooter's Island? Well, in working on the last iteration of the Color NJ base map, found something that looked a little weird. And that's this. I'm like, what the heck's going on there? So that's going east-west is a state boundary between, or seemed like a state boundary, and then you have the county boundary there kind of shooting down onto the thing, and then this thing is an outlier. Now, the only outlier, or in holdings I know of in New Jersey are Ellis Island and Statue of Liberty. Don't get me started on the issue with Bedloe Island. That should be part of New Jersey, but that's a different thing. So this thing's sitting outside there, and it just looked kind of weird. So I looked more into it, like, where is the actual boundary? But along the way, I found some history of this tiny little island that no one knows about, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, the native Lenape people didn't seem to want anything to do with it because there's no fresh water on it. But when the colonists moved in, there was plenty of game there, so they went over there and just started shooting anything that moved, and hence it got its name. Then during the Revolutionary War, it was a dead drop for spies, and like there's unconfirmed rumors that George Washington was one of the people like going there to pick up stuff from some of his spies. In the 19th century, New York City oysters were famous worldwide. They would ship them over to Europe. They came from the waters around Shooter's Island. Then, as of most things in the 19th century, it got completely overfished and then polluted, and then, no one can have those anymore. There was an early oil refinery there in the late 1800s. And when you think late 1800s oil, you think Standard Oil. Well, when that kind of went away, there's a shipbuilding industry that started on this island, and it was the Standard Shipbuilding Company. Notice the name. It's the same folks. And they built all kinds of vessels. And they built the yacht for the soon-to-be Kaiser Wilhelm of Germany in 1903. And that was the first newsreel recorded in video, or not video, film, by Thomas Teddy Roosevelt and the Prince Wilhelm at the time, and like all these things, and in this funny video that you can just find on YouTube. They also built the fastest ship to get across by sail on the Atlantic in a record that was in 1905, and it lasted until 1997. So in 1910, the shipyards, they're all in New York. And then soon after, this expands, and the shipyards get bigger and bigger, and the island expands into New Jersey. At the peak, there were 9,000 people working on this little island. Then it ended up supplying ships for World War I. Then after World War I, shipbuilding went bust, the site was abandoned, and then it becomes a home for derelict vessels. And it becomes a home for derelict vessels and more derelict vessels. And they keep just chucking them in there, and they just kind of fall apart. In the 60s, there was a study by the New York harbor master that the debris floating out of Shooter's Island into New York Harbor was a real threat to the transportation. But then in the 90s, it becomes a bird sanctuary, and there's no public access anymore. So let's get back to that weird boundary. Where did it come from? Like, well, there's water around there, and water boundaries can get a little funky. There's nothing permanent that's there. So let's look at some examples. Here's the boundary in 1898 on a topo. Here's in 1900. Now this one actually follows what seems to be the actual agreed upon boundary from 1887. Here's a plan from 1910 showing the state line up to the north where the wharf goes up there, then expansion in 1917. Here's what it looks like in the 1930s imagery. Here's a boundary that's from a 1947 topo that's just wrong. And 1955, this looks like what is the correct boundary. And it stayed that way in the topos through 2016. But then things got weird again, because the Office of GIS boundaries had this weird curve that you saw on the first slide, and that got incorporated into other stuff, and it found its way into tax maps, because you have that part of New Jersey of the island is in Bayonne and Elizabeth. But with that curve, it all becomes part of Bayonne. And then those tax maps find their way up into the census data and to USGS, and then they make a little curve around it. So what I'm trying to do is just get the correct boundaries for this. Like we are missing some offshore stuff for county boundaries, and I need the legal descriptions of those, and they are very hard to find. So if anyone has any of those, I'd love to help. And this is what Shooter's Island looks like.
Have you ever been there? I mean, no public access, but
there is no public access.
So you've not been able to. Sounds like it's time to go hunting, right? No. Okay. Thank you, Scott. That was pretty cool. I want to hear the second part when we're back in October. What you find if there's an update, I think you should be. I will call you up to give us an update on that. That's fascinating. Okay, so this next gentleman, I want to pronounce his name one way, and I know it's the incorrect way, so I'm going to try and say what I was told, but immediately after I was told it, I forgot. So we're going to go to the NJDEP, Bureau of Climate Change and Clean Energy, field mapping to inform and support the NJDEP's lead by example. Ryan Gergelli, damn it.
Before. My wife is a teacher. She gets it worse than I do. So Ryan Gergelli, yes.
I'll give you a couple more seconds.
Thank you. Should be next. Cool. So everybody hear me? Good. Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Gergelli. I am with the DEP's Bureau of Climate Change and Clean Energy. I'm really excited to be here today. I know it's after lunch or lunchtime, but I'll try to be brief. I'm going to give you guys an overview of DEP's Lead by Example initiative and how we've been leveraging field maps to support the ongoing work. So just to set the stage, the DEP owns or maintains more than 2,000 buildings or structures statewide, which is the most of any state agency by a large margin. And these buildings range from things like massive office buildings that we have in Trenton, to, you know, things like state parks, historic sites, wildlife management areas, or even like sheds and buildings in the middle of the forest that you would never know are even there. All of these buildings are very unique. You know, they have varying occupancy, varying energy needs and whatnot. And in 2025, these buildings consumed more than 22 million kilowatt hours of electricity to the tune of roughly $4 million in just electricity costs, $6 million if you incorporate other things like gas, propane, and fuel oil for heating. Without diving into it in the interest of time, the state does have very ambitious greenhouse gas reduction goals, and decarbonizing state buildings is an essential step towards achieving those goals. So that's what we're looking to do. That brings us to our Lead by Example initiative. So, which is really just that. It's ways for the DEP to lead the way in decarbonizing our own buildings so that other agencies may follow suit. This initiative was officially kicked off in 2023. Some of the main components are shown here, including things like establishing a steering committee, you know, organizational things, conducting, you know, an agency-specific greenhouse gas inventory, completing energy audits at all of our facilities and implementing energy conservation measures, integrating things like solar PV and other renewable energy where applicable, and the development of a strategic energy management plan, which we're currently working on. But what I want to focus on today is this step here, which is identifying all of our assets with energy demand, which may sound like it's kind of a no-brainer. You know, in order to figure out how to reduce energy, you kind of have to know where you're using it. And, you know, that's a no-brainer, right? But it's state government. Why would it be that easy? So some of you may be familiar with this. I don't know if you may, but all of our energy bills at DEP, and I believe across all agencies, are stored in a database through called AvidXchange. And it's a really great database, has lots of data. You know, every energy bill that is billed to the state is stored in there. When you look back at DEP, we have more than 90 different facilities characterized in EnergySolve with hundreds of different energy billing accounts. And the main issue here, coming from the perspective of really wanting to understand and analyze that usage, is the fact that there's no indication of what specific building is tied to each of those accounts and meters. So, you know, you have the facility, you know how many meters are there, you don't know what buildings those are connected to. How can you analyze it? So you're getting where I'm going here? So to overcome that issue, I came up with the idea, why not leverage field maps? You know, we have it, we have access to it, let's send people out into the field. You know, you could spend a worse day than you know, exploring a state park and finding all the energy meters and tagging them. So we spent some grueling days in the field, you know, out of the office, you know, tagging those meters. I set up the Field Maps app, you know, downloaded the data from Avid with all the meters and stuff. I pre-populated the app with things like facility ID, the energy commodity, the meter ID, so that when you're out in the field, you know, make it as streamlined as possible to actually tag these things. We also did add an alt ID field because if you know anything about utilities, they're constantly changing out meters, so meter IDs are not matching. You find a meter in the field and it doesn't match something in your dropdown, we needed somewhere to be able to actually log that. So that's what that alt ID field was incorporated for. I also put things in like comments for building name, you know, you could add pictures of the meters and whatnot. And it was really great. To tackle this, you know, we also, in addition to me going out in the field, we did leverage the park superintendents and their staff, gave them access to the app. So they had people, you know, working at the parks helping us out with that. So, you know, really massive effort, but a collaborative effort. And where we're at, you know, it's been extremely effective. You know, we've been able to locate and map nearly all metered sources. There have been some elusive electric meters, you know, that are listed on our accounts, but they're using either no or very little electricity, and we just can't find them. You know, they might be attached to a shed in the middle of the woods somewhere, and we haven't been able to locate them yet. I did develop an internal dashboard that we've used that basically shows at a high level, you know, at each facility, how many meters exist, how many have been, you know, tagged and whatnot. And that's been really effective in briefing management and that high-level steering committee. You know, they like very simple things to give them the takeaways of where we're at with this. Delivered fuels are a little more tricky to nail down, things like propane and fuel oil because of how they're stored in Avid. They're not separately metered, but we have been tagging them as we go. In terms of using this data, we've been using it a lot for our internal planning. I've developed some facility energy profiles that basically give you, you know, a look into where and how much electricity is being used at each facility at the building level. Really insightful storytelling tools that we've leveraged to help make informed decisions about where to target some preliminary efforts around, actually incorporating energy conservation measures to reduce where we can. Also, because we're able to trace those meter IDs back to the energy billing, we can view trends over time. So we can see how that usage is changing over time throughout the year, over year periods, and see as we're actually incorporating energy conservation measures, how ideally that usage will be going down, post installation of things like, more efficient systems. Yeah, that's about it. It was just kind of next steps. We're going to keep doing this. But yeah, link to our LBE webpage. Feel free to let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you.
Ryan, thank you very much. I want to offer the idea that just as when you're in a store and there's no price tag, if you can't find those meters, stop paying. The utility company will find them for you and give you the address, I'm sure. Okay, next up we have Zach Christman. We're visiting Rowan University again, our gracious host, and we're going to learn about where all of Kalen's customers might actually be going if they just get sick and tired of the man. Sorry.
All right. Well, hello, and thanks for that introduction, and thank you again, all of you, for being here. I'll just start with this anecdote that I was talking to an affiliate, we'll call him Andrew Lavecchia, and he says, I am receiving all these intern applications and they appear to be very good people, but they all say they use QGIS, and why aren't they just using this? And to that I have two answers, maybe three. First of all, there are a lot of geospatial tools, and you should use the ones that fit the job the best and work together among them. And that's the best form of a GIS ecosystem. The other part is that the best tool for the job is the one that you know how to use. And if you have a tool with you, then you are more likely to use it. And the third is that I'm the problem, it's me. And so I've been doing this a long time. I started using ArcView 3.1, and then I used that for a very long time, especially when I was working with Mexico, because yo ho ho, it's the easiest one to get. And the students teach me a lot of different ways to teach or to use a lot of tools. So in my capacity as a professor and chair, I learn a lot of ways not to do things, and then slowly the good pathways emerge, and often in ways that I didn't anticipate. So as you heard from some of the other faculty, we have a lot of GIS and a very robust set of programs here. We have the Bachelor's of Arts in Geography that was officially started in 1970, but dates back with various different iterations to the start of Glassboro Normal School. And we also have our Bachelor's of Arts in Environmental Sustainability Studies, the Bachelor's of Science in Community Environmental Planning that now has just gained accreditation, the Bachelor's of Science in GIS, both of those just started in 2012. And we now teach about 750 students a year. And if you extrapolate that out over an average of 3 years at Rowan, if you're transferring or what have you, it means that almost 10% of our population takes a GIS class. And that's why you see our GIS resumes in your inbox. So thank you, and consider that. About QGIS, I want to say that, well, first of all, the price is right, but maybe not for you. You all have infinite money. But the students who are leaving our halls, they often go through a gap where they don't have GIS access. And is it better to have QGIS on their platforms, or to say, oh, I used to have an Esri license, or to pass out those DVDs at the end of the semester and hope that that bridges them until their application is received? So I had been trying to use QGIS for a very long time, but just before the pandemic, it kind of got to the state where I felt it was good enough to do most of the things, and I have to say it's quite good now. QGIS reads and writes like everything, And that's the list of vector formats in and out. That's the list of raster formats in and out. You can do a lot of things. One of my favorite things to do is to export to a Microsoft Excel sheet without having to turn it into a DBF, DB4, DB blah, 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 and to do these various things. It also can read all of your favorite ArcGIS Online REST services, etc. Rapid updates, rapid performance. The rapid performance is certainly uneven, as is all of the things that we do, but I see way less spinning beach balls or blue donuts than I do in some of the other programs, and like loading all the parcels in the state. I mean, it happens on my personal computer in the timeline that I had to make that screenshot. So that was good. It is also something that is consistently maintained. So there are new versions of QGIS with all the latest features that have been tested every 3 months. But if that deployment schedule doesn't work for you, you can take the long-term release, which is roughly every year, and those are meant to be stable for the following 3 years. So that's what we put on our lab computers. That's what we use for projects. Things are mostly backward compatible, but you know, sometimes things happen. There are also versions for the Mac, because if you haven't noticed, Macs are very popular with the young people these days. And rather than explaining to them that they can pay $60 a year for a student license of Parallels or log into our Citrix workspace, they could just do it on their local computer at 11 p.m. at night at home. And there are field options as well. So there are a lot of tools. Sometimes they're in funny menus. So this is the processing toolbox on the side, which is different from the vector and raster menus at the top. But the point is that they have a lot of the tools that you are already using in various different ways, and often they work quite efficiently. I also very, very, very much appreciate, you know, that task that you sometimes have to do where you have to count the number of points in a polygon? Like, what's that called in Esri? Spatial joins, select by location. You know what it's called in QGIS? Count points in polygon. And it's great. And so that's good. And then also, a lot of the features have like a GUI that has batch operations. So this is me running zonal statistics on like 6 different geographies across 6 or 8 different base imageries and exporting them as spatial files and Excel, and it runs in like 5 seconds. So it's not necessarily that these are high performance computing, but they're efficient for the type of odd day-to-day tasks that certainly I do a lot of. And then there is a really friendly community. If you're into the YouTubes or in the old school listserv, there are a lot of positive feedbacks. The Reddit for QGIS is slightly less toxic than the other Reddits. Stack Exchange is the same. And there are also just an amazing extensibility of plugins. So the one on the left is just truly amazing. It's community supported, so many of the features are free. And then if you have a budget, you can pay into the future features that become free when enough people pay for them. But this is what converts your ArcGIS desktop projects into QGIS so that you can recover those legacy sets of information that you can do. So it works on many things just out of the box. But if you do need some of the advanced features, they are not yet free. And then the future of the innovation is going to gravitate toward open source tools, because like these AI segmentation by TerraLab people have written me like 10 times in the last month with all the different updates about just the small scale tracing of various different tasks. And it's a free plugin, and there's hundreds of free plugins and then other different things. So finally, I'll just say that, you know, our students are learning these things. That's not the only thing they're learning. We teach, thanks to Dr. York and our GIS support specialist and technician, Mike Bryan, and many of the other faculty, all of the software, Esri software, R, Google, all the different things. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I'm glad to continue the conversation.
Now, Kaylin, to get back to our discussion, what I heard was when your customers say, where do I get support, they can call Rowan. That's what I heard. I'm just, you know, I don't know. Sorry, there was a question. to the questions about Arcade, I think.
Yes, so I saw the list of all the different possible languages that are available in QGIS. I know Arcade's relatively new. Is that also listed in there?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Great, thank you.
I have no idea, but the community will help figure that out.
I'm not sure. So the answer was I don't know, and I don't know either. But I think I saw Avenue. If you have an Avenue script, just
Great.
Okay. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. And just so we're clear, I stay on one back. I don't do the long-term release. I go one behind that just in case. I find there's lots of little iffy things, but they're all solvable. Okay, next up, we're going all the way back to the New Jersey Office of GIS with Deepa Sanjeevaraya. I like saying that, Sanjeevaraya, basically because it's one that I can actually say. Sorry, Ryan. Okay, so we have maintaining statewide road address and geocoding service, streamlined regular update and workflow. Deepa.
I think Matt pronounced my name better than I would. So thank you, Matt. This button, right? Yeah. So I'm from Office of GIS. Today my talk is about how we maintain and update road address and geocoding service that we maintain. So the talk is about concise overview of how we update this data and maintain it, and it includes how we regularly update our road and address, and as part of the workflow, we also upgrade the geocoder service. So address data, I know Brian talked about our parcel data. That's where our address data came from. It was sourced originally from parcel data. And then we use the local data to enhance it. We also collaborate with county folks where they give us their updated data. The public share their information. We also work with other state agencies. And also we all have contractor who provide their latest data using the latest parcel mod form. So we have all these address data, which is also tied to our road centerline data. This is the address points. If you look at it, it's placed on building footprints, right? Importantly, our address points it complies with NENA Next Gen 911. When I say completely, it's a tongue twister. So it complies with that standard. Not only our address data, our road center lines data as well, right? I just want to emphasize not only just the geometry, we also enhance our attributes as well. There are so many key attributes that is needed for part of NextGen. That is updated as well. Once we update this data, because we get this data from so many sources, not only we constantly edit this data, we get it from so many sources, there are so many steps included for the QOQC, right? Before even that, we have to make sure that it meets our standards, and there are so many pre-processing steps applied. During the QOQC process, we try to make sure we find inconsistencies with the data and also make sure that it meets our data standards. Just a couple examples: if there are duplicate addresses, if the range is wrong on road center line, or sub-address information is correct, we try to cover all of it. There are so many steps. So once the data is reconciled, QOQC, it's published for public consumption, right? If you go on our website, you can see how you can use our data set. Do you want to download it? Do you want to use it as hosted feature service? All that information about the schema, the data standards, everything, you can find it on our website. So not only during this regular update, we update the data, we also have this spreadsheet, the report. It tells you where the edits have happened for that, for that release. We also have map just to visually to show you, so you can see if your area is getting updated or not, right? And then you can use the data, the latest data. So other than that, like, because we update this road and address so constantly and regularly, we rebuild our geocoder. to enhance the performance and geocoding capabilities, right? So our geocoding service not only does single address geocoding, it does batch geocoding, reverse geocoding, it has address suggestions. This geocoder can be downloaded for local consumption as well. Like, if you don't want to use our REST endpoint, it can be downloaded as well. You can see, again, the resource list on our website, how it can be used. If you have any question how to use it, we have the help document as well, and how you can download it or how to use the REST end service on your pro project, right? I would just, side note, don't do more than 1,000, like a million, and it it actually screws the service. Sorry, I'm sorry. Scratch that, sorry. So one of the things with the geocoding service, we have not only have address results, right? You can see the information about our addresses. We are trying to enhance other information along with that, right? What block and lot does this address fall in? Which school district? What is our qualifier code? There are other information. We are constantly enhancing it. I don't want to tell you why we need to update data everywhere. You guys have seen so many presentations why we need accurate data, right? The only thing I want to say is this workflow is so streamlined, manageable, and repeatable. We constantly work to provide you with the latest data. The core aspect of our data is to give you the latest and cleanest data. So we work very hard, and if you have any inputs on how to improve our data, please feel free to contact us, and this is our website. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for that. And I'm sure you guys know from the listserv, I can attest to the geocoder. Love it. Love it. I did download it, and it was like that. It was just, boop, and is it done? Like it was done before I even thought it got started. Very good stuff. Okay. Oh, we're going back to Rowan again. Okay. Next up, we have Nicole Abbott and Dr. Meaner, but I think Dr. Meaner he's cut you loose, so it's just you, Nicole. And we're going to talk about access to quality in urban agriculture trends in selected New Jersey municipalities. Nicole Abbott.
Right. Sounds good. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Abbott, and I am the Assistant Project Manager at Rowan University's Community Visualization and Planning Labs. And today I get to nerd out about urban agriculture in select New Jersey cities. So if you're not familiar with urban agriculture, it's the cultivation and distribution of agricultural products in an urban setting. So if anyone has participated in a local community garden, congratulations, you have done urban agriculture. Today, New Jersey municipalities are utilizing urban agriculture as a holistic strategy to address food insecurity and equity to varying degrees of success. This study looks to identify factors that influence the success of urban agriculture as a food equity intervention in selected New Jersey municipalities. So this NASA-funded study was done in 2 phases. The first phase, I was not here. There was a small group of researchers who identified 6 municipalities in New Jersey based on the Rutgers 2022 NJ Urban Agricultural Web Map. Utilizing provided NASA satellite imagery from 2018, 2021, 2022, and 2024, the team conducted a visual analysis of all selected municipalities and saw agricultural activity through the imagery defined through their visual presence. It should be noted that this team added some additional instances that were not on the base map. And in phase 2, where I come in, I added 9 more municipalities to those initial 6, expanding to 15 cities. I replicated their visual analysis and noted their growth and shrinkage of the instances themselves. That includes the land they use, or if they added more or less raised beds or cultivated areas. And that resulted in some pretty fun maps. So here we have a visual representation of our data.
tracking new instances throughout the years and if they disappeared. So we have our top count cities, our mid count cities, and our low count cities, small but mighty. So this chart shows the instance changes from 2018 to 2024. Some highlights include Trenton, who was consistently the city with the most urban agricultural instances, starting and ending with 40 counts. Clifton was the most overall sustained growth, and Atlantic City was one of the most consistent cities across all 4 years. Additionally, size fluctuations of the instances themselves showed really strong trends. Over 71% of the growth and shrinkage instances were categorized as institutions. Institutions are instances that belong to school or company entities that limit cultivation to members. So if you were part of a garden club in middle school, you were an institutional instance. While not all institutional sites were shrinkage, all shrinkage instances were institutions, making institutional sites most vulnerable to fluctuations. In regards to GIS analysis, what we're all here to look at, a weighted area population analysis was conducted utilizing a customized dataset network. A predefined quarter-mile watershed ease of access buffer was created to identify the percentage of each city's population within a walking ease of access. This was done utilizing our base 2022 instances. Generally, cities with higher counts of instances saw higher population access. In these 3 highlighted cities, Clifton, Trenton, and Atlantic City, the watershed analysis was overlaid with age demographics. It was hypothesized that these instances with higher access to dependent populations, that would be under 18, over 65, that's school age, retirement age, has more time to volunteer and would see a little bit more success. But based upon our models, municipalities with a lower total of instant counts and a higher overall dependent population were more likely to have their instances within parcels with higher dependent populations. However, there were no other significant trends. Now this is my favorite map because we found this on accident, as all great studies are found. So through the same ease of access watershed, trends regarding extended access emerged. A majority of the selected cities that had instances that we studied provided walking access to neighboring municipalities, almost doubling our list of people who had walking access to these instances. This just goes to show how one municipality's dedication to food equity can impact the entire region. We also analyzed the supportive municipal policies and partnerships present within each city. This includes adopt-a-lots, green teams, and even food councils. A geographic trend did emerge as we studied each of these municipalities. Municipalities to the north and the east scored significantly higher than those to the west and the south. This includes cities like Trenton and Newark, while Pleasantville and Atlantic City scored lower. While we continue this research, we intend to interview residents, local nonprofits, and municipal planners and workers to gain further insight on influential factors of the success and failure of the instances that we have identified and studied. Thank you very much, and I forgot to put my credentials, but if you want to nerd out about urban agriculture, feel free to, walk up and start talking.
Now that's something that touches my heart dearly. As I was up there on the map, I was in one of those zones. So we've seen a lot of that pick up in our Atlantic City neighborhood, these different places. They just did they just did a green zone pass, municipality, Atlantic City Municipal Council passed in December for green agricultural zone, allowing landowners to sell whatever they make on their land. So interesting. Okay, so next up, we're going to go to one of those places south and west, and it's going to be in Cumberland County. Joe Zachary, I hope I said that right, Joe? Right. Good. GPS data collection applications. Okay, Joe's got some apparatus here, so I'm going to give him a minute. And then after this, we've got one more after this, and then, well, I'll ask you if you have any questions. Joe Zachary, Cumberland County.
All right. Well, hello everyone. My name is Joe Zachary. I'm GIS specialist at Cumberland County. I'm here to talk about how we have been using a GPS unit to create data for our county. First off, I'm going to go off with the equipment. So I do have it with me right here. Main piece of the equipment is the EOS Aero Gold, which is how it collects a lot of the receiving information. Got the satellite antenna. The pole, which holds all the things. I have it only half of it, but there is a bottom half with a gnarly spike. And then the tablet holder, as you can see right here, and iPad. And then for programs that I use, I mainly focus on field apps and Survey 123. I use both of them because I like Survey 123 when I'm focusing more on just the actual data collection, getting out, getting a point, have to collect all the information while I'm there. Field apps is a little bit better if I can just get the data and then go back to the office and do it there. I find that easier. First big project that we use is the trail mapping. Big thing in New Jersey right now, there's the trail action group that's trying to map all the trails in New Jersey. I started out with that and helped out. I based our data off of theirs, and I'm kind of just to get a big understanding of where all the trails in our county are. When I got to this county in 2019, we had, I think, maybe only one trail partially mapped. So now we have a good amount, still have a lot to get, but we're working on that. One of the things that this helped support recently is our Cohansey Green corridor study to help kind of give us a big corridor that will go throughout the county. Another big project that we're using it for is our farmland preservation signs. So if you don't know, when a farm gets preserved, they have an option to put a sign to identify that this is a preserved sign. We had a lot of them throughout the county, but we had no idea where they were. So we used our GPS unit to get a better understanding of where everything were, what farms had them, what farms didn't. So we have a better understanding when people are coming asking us, oh, you already had a sign. Why are you putting a new application? Maybe you got hit. That happens a lot. Another big one was NJ Transit bus stops. This was actually the first major project that we did with our GPS unit. We wanted to kind of get a better understanding of where all the bus stops were throughout the county and how that kind of created and where the openness was. So me and a colleague of mine spent multiple days. We kind of idiotically did it in December, so it was really cold. Kind of just driving around and figuring out where they were. And as you can see, we use Survey 123 for this one because you're standing there and you have to collect all the information about what's in the area. It's a lot harder to do that with field maps. Plus, I think field maps wasn't really out, and so it was whatever the old version was. Park trees is a very small one, but I think it's a very important one. It kind of can show how even the smallest little project can help with this. So we mapped out the trees that are on the front lawn of our library. We mainly did that because we're trying to develop a new playground on that property, and we didn't want to remove too many trees. We wanted to see what area we could use, and this was a way for us to actually see where the trees were and how we could work around them, or if we had to remove, where we could remove to not create too much of a disturbance. And that's all I really got. If you have any questions?
That's cool. Thank you very much. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Joe before we turn him loose on the? Okay. All right. Okay, last but not least, we have Dom Elefante from the Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission, PVSC's CSO check using Survey 123 and Notebook. Forward, back. And I like Dominador better, but you complained last year, so go with Dom. You're the only Dominador I've ever even heard of. I would use that.
I can take all the time here? Nice.
You've got.
6 minutes. I got you.
You got 6 minutes plus the minute that you're up, so go ahead.
All right.
I'll keep you out.
So I presented this last time, but in more detail. So I'm just going to highlight, what we've done, I guess, from the last time around, and using this solution for our staff that goes out and inspect these regulator gates, when our CSO event happens. Okay. So here, PVSC was formed in 1902 by a special act of, state legislature, right? So pretty much the turn of the century. And it's amazing that, our infrastructure is still, going, as old as the system is. And a lot of these, older infrastructures, are mostly highlighted in red, which are the CSO towns. The green indicates, all of our separated communities within this 165 square mile, region, that we have control of. Mostly sewer assets, from manholes, all the way to the sewer gravity mains. But how is this, sewer water conveyed from the north all the way down to our treatment plant? So it begins here, from the Patterson or the Great Falls, and it works its way down all the way down to the harbor. This is the Robbins Reef, right at the foot of Statue of Liberty, not too far from Scott's presentation, right? And this is where all of our treated waters, end up. Okay, so what is a CSO, right? So the image on the left tells you, what the combined system is, versus a separated. In here, this is a dry flow, for us. There's separation with the right picture where you have stormwater going out and the sewage going into the treatment plant. So here, right, all things is good, right? Both system, all that water goes, to us. So in a nutshell, right? So combined sewer overflow, and it's pretty much the image on the left that tells you what it is. All right, so when the rain comes, this is what our guys go to. They check on these two applications to get the our stuff going, as far as checking these regulators out, during these storms. And now the rain comes, right? So this is what we see, right? So your typical wet weather flow, during a in a separate system, right? Stormwater goes out, sewage goes into the plant, but for those older cities like Jersey City, Newark, Patterson, right? When that gate, closes, as far as relieving pressure, into our plant, that water does go out, right? So that there's a permit, that PVSC, has to uphold, and that's DEP's permit, for these events. All right. So the brains behind it is this guy right here, as far as like checking the event and what are the thresholds, that it consumes, right? So one of them being 350 MGD, right? So that's the threshold one. And then the second one are multi, when it comes to the regular gates around Newark, so if they're at 50% closure, the system kicks in, right? And then it creates the event. And then what it does is that they go into here, they see all of these, dots, 45 of them. On the north is pretty much all of the Patterson regulators, and then in the south, is a mixed bag of, Newark regulators, and some in Belleville and vice versa, right? So these are the triggers, on this side here, where we actually, invoke our notebook, to look at these gates, as one of the tells for our CSO, right? Just to kind of give you an idea, like the last storm that happened, this is pretty much the duration, right? So you have on the left, this is what were initiated, as far as the 350 MGD. That should be greater than 350. I apologize. All right, but this is pretty much, SCADA looking at all of these gates, and then the influent flow right here, as you can see, right? At that point, it was at 412, MGD. Okay, and then just to give you an overview on a storm for a given event. So this is the start of it, And then 8 hours later, or close to 8 hours later, that's when the event ended. And then this is what gets sent out. So the initial one was sent out around, I don't know if you guys can see that, at 7:27 p.m. And then thereafter, right, 5:24, 1:40, 2 a.m. Is when the event ended. So after that, right, the guys went out and pretty much checked all of these sites, added a crew to their checklist, and then once that's activated, they can pretty much just go down the list. And again, this is just survey 1, 2, 3. That they're inputting all of what they see. And if there's anything that triggers that says that yes, overflow is happening, this triggers another form for them to fill out. And then as far as reporting and auditing, this is what they go through as far as like the administrators. So the last event that you see here, right? All they do is press on that button, and then it creates this report for audit purposes. That's it. I'm done. All right.
Good job. Good job. Dom, I've seen you talk now a couple times, and you always talk about the Patterson, aging Patterson, and I always get Bob Dylan's Hurricane in my head. And Patterson, that's just the way things go, Okay, so we've done all our talks. Now, I believe I've touched on all the questions that we got online. I don't think there's any other questions in the room. So then I think that's it. Thank you very much to Rowan University and for hosting us and having us. We have our next meeting in October in Atlantic City. It's going to be part of the Geospatial Professional Network. It used to be MacUrissa. I knew it as MacUrissa. So Geospatial Professional Network. Did I say it right? Is that right? Okay, good. GPN, right. So Mac GPN happening in October. And I'd say if you're going, I'm going to tell you to reserve a room for Friday night too. The party just gets started when the event ends. So I hope to see you there. Oh, we got a question. Okay, go ahead. Oh, no, come up. We have representative from GPN here now. The president, right? The Presidente, El Presidente. All right.
Yes, it comes with a lot of cachet. Hi, I'm John Reiser. I'm the president of the Mid-Atlantic chapter of the Geospatial Professional Network. Our conference is going to be held down in Atlantic City this year, October 21st to the 23rd, 4th. In mid to late October, down in Atlantic City. Our call for abstracts. We have a lot of talks already submitted. We'd love to see more. Plenty of examples today that would be great to have expanded upon down at the conference. So the call to, or the form to put in your abstracts is available, gpnmac.org. And then we're also going to be having some Mappy Hour events over the summer. If there's any places where there's a nice, interesting venue and you've got a group of people nearby, let us know. We'd be happy to host an event in your neighborhood. So. Yes, it's at Hard Rock Atlantic City instead of Resorts. We were at Resorts the last few years, so now we have moved one down, and it's a much nicer venue. It's going to be much bigger, so we're looking to see you all out there. Thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to. What was that? No. This was a great day, but I'm sure everybody is ready to go on. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much. All right, so that's it. We'll see you in October. Thank you.